I'm Eben Britton,
And I'm Nate Jackson.
and this is the Mindful Warrior.
We should not be training to be able to do 10 reps of hamstring curls. We should be able to be training to be able to fucking fight off a bear or fucking swim
Lift
out,
a giant boulder.
lift a boulder, swim out of a car that fucking plunges into a lake,
Hell yeah, dude.
give fucking CPR to a cat, whatever the fuck it is. Stand on your feet all day, spoon with your wife.
Yeah.
That's the type of shit we gotta, be prepared for. Not like, I don't know, I feel like some of the aim of fitness people is very like, it's not functional. Whoa, Jed. Are you a musician?
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Mindful Warrior. My name is Eben Britton, joined, as always, by my brother, Nathan Jackson. Nate, how are you?
I'm good, man.
Awesome, brother.
Real good.
As well as Jed Bauer.
Hello, world peoples.
Jed's on the mic today. We don't have a guest. Got a pretty cool topic. I've got to mention that Gandalf is chilling
As usual,
on the
man.
floor
Just being a good dog.
to the soothing sounds of the Mindful Warrior.
Ooh.
So we've got a cool topic today for our discussion. And Nate, you have had some personal explorations into your own health that this is really inspired by, and that's gut health and how that affects our overall well-being. Lot to jump into. This is something that I've been exploring myself. I'm actually just started reading this book, The Body Keeps the Score, and in this chapter.
Heard of that book.
Yeah, man. We'll talk about it when I finish it. I'm actually doing the audio book, but he just started talking about gut health,
Right.
brain connection, all that stuff. It's all linked. It's all connected.
Yeah. Who'da thunk it?
Who'da thunk it? So we're going to title this pod Talking Shit.
Talking shit. Shit talker.
All right.
Ooh.
Let's
I
talk
like that.
first.
I like that.
Let's talk first about the human digestive system.
Yeah, let's give a basic breakdown of that.
So we got the stomach, the small intestines, the colon. We got all this stuff happening. You take food in. Oh, you could include the esophagus and the mouth as well, because we start.
Did you do it in order there? Or?
No, we did. I did it backwards.
So you,
But food digestion starts in the mouth. Your saliva breaks down carbohydrates in your human saliva. And then the esophagus moves it down in there, crushes it with some sphincter action. All those sphincters happening.
multiple
Sphincters. And a good thing to keep in mind as we're doing this is that it bears reminding that when you eat fat, it does not turn into fat necessarily, as well as protein and carbohydrates do not turn into certain. It's not, you are what you eat, but not literally in this case.
Interesting.
So when you eat carbohydrates, they break down into glucose, and that's your energy molecules.
That's the brain's favorite source of energy.
Favorite source, exactly. You also have, when you break down your fats, you break them down into fatty acids, which are also your building blocks, as well as proteins are very similar. You break those down into amino acids for building and repair. Now, you can turn fat into glucose. That's something you do when you don't take in enough carbs or don't have any carbs available. It will use a process to create some glucose from your fats.
Glucose.
Glucose.
Glenn Close.
Glenn Close loves glucose. But one interesting thing I did find out here is that if you eat a lot of carbs and a lot of fat, the dietary fat can be stored immediately as fat. So that's why you don't want to eat something like fries too
Interesting.
often. Because that is a case where it will instead, because you have so many carbs and you have all this fat, it will actually just end up moving that right into fat fairly quickly. But that's, in an extreme situation. But for the most part, yeah, glucose turns into fat from carbs. So when you don't use up that glucose, it gets stored as fat.
Well, something important there, though, Jed, is that it's about the combinations of what we're eating.
Exactly.
A lot of times we think that we're just like fucking human garbage cans and you could just dump whatever it is down your gullet and it'll just turn out all right.
Well, in some cases, that's true. Like, you can eat a lot of stuff and it comes out the other end.
For a little
You know what
while.
I mean? Yeah, exactly. But I think the things you were just describing were interesting to me until I stopped paying attention because I don't understand those words. You know what I mean?
Glucose.
And so I think there's a lot of people out there for whom like that kind of detail when it comes to food absorption and thinking about that is just not an option.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so how do we reduce that to kind of layman's terms where it's more of a simplified, sensible approach to it where it's like, I don't know. I mean,
Sugars.
right.
What's the
Sugar's
most
bad.
Maybe a song.
What's sugar is bad.
So glucose equals sugar.
Well, no, everything breaks down. Simple sugars are already there. They're as fructose.
Right.
So as, your carbohydrates, you actually don't need a lot of effort. And that's part of the problem. That's the difference between eating fruit and eating a spoonful of sugar.
Right.
Is that with all the fiber of the fruit, it makes it a better conversion.
Right.
And you don't get the insulin spikes.
Right.
Which are also an issue. That's another complex issue of digestion.
And you got to wonder, God, of course, is the perfect being here, and God created all these plants for us to eat, and, and there are fruits in abundance on earth. They can't be that bad for us, right?
No, they're not.
I mean, they serve a purpose in human digestion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's nothing, when people are trying to lose weight, a lot of weight, yes, you would avoid any sugar, and that would include fruit. Mm-hmm. But a normal person, eat some fruit, man. I think it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I cut
fruit's
out sugar completely several months ago, like in March when we
Yeah.
did the combo and stuff, and I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, you look lean and mean, brother.
I've been adding a little bit back, but what I figured out
Wait, but adding what back?
a little bit of fruit.
Oh yeah, me too.
A little bit of fruit
actually.
and some carbs.
Yeah.
I found out I kind of need carbs.
Yeah.
In moderation.
Yeah.
But a lot of protein, and I've been lifting and stuff. But I recently kind of got a hold of some stomach issues I've been having, and the combo that we did initiated a diet for me that I was wanting to try because I was dealing with all kinds of like complex stomach problems that had been fluctuating over the years but had come to a head. Like I had a lot of gas in my lower abdomen, a lot of farting, a lot of burping, itchy anus, mouth thrush. It's true.
I don't mean to laugh.
Well, you just did.
But
But itchy anus.
discomfort.
There was not a lot of pain. You know what I mean? But I would feel a bloating.
Yeah.
And it was always there. And
Yeah.
no matter what I was eating, and I was trying to fix my diet, and I was in my mind it was a yeast problem, a candida problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was acid reflux based because we took a shit ton of pills.
Yeah.
So many anti-inflammatories, and probably a lot of people out there listening did too, whether you're an athlete or not. Those things eat away your stomach lining and fuck up your stomach acid balance.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of shit going on in there. And you guys also might notice that sometimes my throat is very scratchy because the acid reflux comes up and damages the throat, damages the vocal cords, and the stuff that was going on in my mouth was a result of that acid coming up and like affecting my mouth. So recently I finally said enough of the internet, like trying to find natural remedies and shit. I need to go to a doctor.
Yeah.
I went to a doctor. He drew some blood, and I also did a urea test. It's a breath test. You breathe into a bag. You drink this liquid, and then 15 minutes later, you breathe into this bag. And it's supposed to detect a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, or H. pylori for short. It's a very common bacteria. It's has found to be the cause of many stomach ulcers and duodenal ulcers.
What's duodenal?
It's the duodenum. Yeah, the duodenum is like a tube, right?
Yeah.
That connects the stomach to the esophagus, maybe?
Sounds good.
Interesting. Yeah.
Sounds about right. But
Okay.
so they used to not really know how ulcers happen, but then they started realizing, wait, in all these ulcer cases, there's a really high H. pylori presence, and so they started to equate those two. So H. pylori, an overgrowth of H. pylori can cause that, but H. pylori exists in 1/3 to 2/3 of individuals anyway in your stomach, and most people are not symptomatic. Well, it turns out I tested positive for H. pylori, and that was what was causing me the symptoms in my stomach. So my doctor gave me some antibiotics. So I'm on 2 different kinds of antibiotics right now, and a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor, which reduces the acid in the stomach so the antibiotics can do its work. But the H. pylori are these spiral bacteria that burrow into the intestine walls and secrete some really acidic stuff, and they multiply and can be spread through poop, talking shit. They can be spread through kissing, saliva, and just in dirty areas like undeveloped countries or third world countries. Or what I'm realizing is fucking Venice Beach.
Yeah.
Gentrification causes a lot of construction and homelessness, and maybe I just fucking licked the wrong poop pile.
So it's in water supplies and shit like that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you go into the ocean a lot?
I have, over the last, ever since, I feel like this has been a problem for
Right.
me for the last 7 years.
Right.
Truly, and it fluctuated. And I would try to get a hold of it, and I wouldn't know what it is. My mouth would my tongue would swell up for whatever reasons based on certain foods, yeasty stuff, beer, spicy food, caffeine, whatever it was. But, I don't know if this is going to work, but I say after 4 or 5 days, there's a significant difference. My poop has completely stabilized. And over the last 2 or 3 months, my poop was just fucking
Hell.
fucking just mud water balloons getting thrown at the back of my toilet. You know what I mean?
Coming out strong.
Just fucking,
I know.
completely unsatisfying, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
Never
my-
a solid, fully formed, nice fucking poop.
Right.
And over the last 4 days, I've been pooping nice.
Excellent.
Nice.
That's
Evan, how's
great
your poop
news.
over there?
My poops are pretty stable. I got the apparently I've heard that you want your turds to float.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's like a
Interesting.
super healthy stool.
Right.
And
Why is that?
Because
It's like
I
a
think
low
there's
fat
air.
diet or
It's-
something?
It's like there's a nice air.
But I think it
There's
has
a
to
nice
do with
air
it.
component to it. It's light. It's fluffy. It's
Fibery, probably.
I think
Yeah.
it has to do, with the fat or the protein or the fiber or something.
Yeah.
Levels in it. That means your diet's good or something like that.
Yeah.
So-
the cleaner I eat, the better the poops are.
and the more they float?
Yeah.
See, when I have a good poop, it fucking sinks.
Yeah.
It fucking sinks and it piles out of the. And
What's a good poop though?
breaks
Is
the
that
surface
it
and
feels
I
great?
that,
Solid.
It's a massive.
Yeah.
It's just a release.
that it feels like I got everything out,
Okay. Yeah.
and
yeah.
it didn't fucking splatter and fucking.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do a bunch of recon work after the fact. Because for a
Right.
while I was thinking about writing a memoir called Above the Waterline. Because I'm spending a lot of time above the waterline afterwards,
Uh-huh.
And a good poop to me, you don't spend any time above the waterline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the heavy, because I have, if I eat a lot of proteins, especially red meat, my poop is real solid, but it sinks. So there might be something to that.
Yeah. Interesting. We gotta do a little more research on that.
The poop, the
Yeah.
sinking versus
the
floating.
sinking, the floating.
Yeah,
There's a lot of plant matter maybe when
Right.
it floats.
right. I had one the other day that like half of it sunk and then the back half floated.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was like a Titanic. The Titanic.
No, it wasn't connected. It was like, came in a couple bursts.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that I've always been highly tuned into. Not necessarily the poop part. I mean, I've always been a guy to look at my
Oh, no, this,
my poops afterwards.
real
And-
quick.
Yeah.
Poop Floats, which is a great movie with Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
It says stools that are floating are more often due to poor absorption of nutrients
Ooh.
or too much gas. So I guess we want them to sink.
Okay. Well,
Let's get on that poop.
all right. As long as I'm not having, insanely bad farts, I feel like I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
And,
the fart,
you know,
the smell of the farts indicate kind of your gut health. Like,
Yeah.
if you're pooping a lot and regular, your farts don't really smell.
yeah,
It's when they start, like something's going on in there where they smell really bad.
yeah.
Yeah, I've expressed this before, but I started taking probiotics kefir, the cultured stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And since I started taking it, like body odor has decreased and poop stink has decreased.
Oh, wow.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
You're getting those good probiotics, prebiotics in there.
Does that mean before you were putting your poop under your armpits?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Good. That's good.
I'm glad you stopped doing that.
But, what we're eating and how it makes us feel, this is something that's super close to my experience of life. Paying attention to, how do I feel when I eat something greasy or like a pizza or whatever it might be compared to when I'm eating super clean.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between, not only how I feel physically, the bloating, am I feeling really bloated? Am I feeling gassy? Do I have fucking diarrhea afterwards? Or am I feeling really clear and light? These things are things that I've just paid attention to probably since I was a teenager. I remember there was a switch when it became clear to me that I couldn't really eat like pancakes for breakfast anymore.
Well,
And that was probably around, I remember starting to feel that insane insulin rush when I was probably in my teens, 17, 18, getting ready to head off to college. I mean, I still ate that stuff because my own awareness had to catch up with what I was feeling. But I remember, very matter-of-factly feeling this insane lethargy and depression following a heavy carb meal. Something like pancakes or whatever it might have been. Pizza, those things still. I eat those things and I literally spiral into an exhausted depression.
immediately?
Pretty close, I mean, the symptoms will sort of manifest themselves or, bloom over the next 24 to 36 hours. If I have a weekend where there's like, we have family gatherings and I'm drinking beer and eating, letting myself have the cheat days, which might turn into a cheat weekend, I feel it the next week. Monday, Tuesday, I'm in a fog. I'm in a little bit of a depression. I'm not functioning as well as I usually do. I'm not feeling great. I'm feeling a little depressed and sad and slow and sluggish, and I don't want to feel like that. I hate feeling like that.
It's not worth the piece of pizza. It's not worth the mozzarella stick.
It's not
Yeah.
really.
Or the quesadilla. All of which I had last night
Sure. I mean,
at a friend's
hey,
birthday.
man,
No, it was. I'm with you because I haven't been eating like that. And last night I had beers, which I haven't had in a long time.
Yeah.
And I also had mozzarella sticks, quesadillas, French fries, and chicken wings.
well, this shit tastes good.
Yeah, but I woke up this morning, like I pooped 3 times this morning.
Well, that's
once
good.
at 4 in the morning, once at 6 in the morning, once at 8:30. I had to wake up out of bed to go fucking drop that shit off.
Yeah.
But also
You had a
when you're taking
triple poop.
3 poop morning, man.
Wow.
But also the antibiotics tend to kind of make you dump.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about antibiotics is they can wreck your balance of gut health because it's bacteria.
Right.
Antibiotics
Go in there and just kill
yeah,
shit.
just kill everything, and so that's very common.
So I would
Yeah.
recommend, if you haven't already, take a probiotic.
I've been doing that.
Okay.
he's
good.
he's moved out of amateur biotics. He's on to probiotics.
I've been drinking this stuff called BioK, which actually your brother.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Sam
Those
put me
little
onto.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are good.
and then some kombucha and some
Kombucha, baby.
yogurt.
Get it.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. But this all makes sense scientifically because what we're starting to understand is that fucking almost all of the serotonin in our bodies is produced in our digestive system.
90%.
90 fucking percent of our serotonin,
Wow.
which is our feel-good hormone, our sense of well-being, is all predicated on our serotonin levels. Dopamine, our reward hormone, what makes us feel good, it has a lot to do with addiction as well. You know, people get a dopamine rush right before, you know, say an addict, you know, before thinking about using the substance, they get a huge dopamine rush.
Or gambling or something.
Or gambling. Yeah, for sure. All that stuff.
Placing a wager. I've seen it. I've seen my buddies who love to bet on sports, like halftime, they're going to double and change their bet. They get all excited and they're like jumping around.
Yeah.
It's crazy how the mind works.
Well, I think that's fascinating.
Well, if you want me to connect it for you,
connect it.
The gut flora in your body is mainly responsible for breaking down carbohydrates. So when you have a poor balance in your stomach, you're not digesting your carbohydrates. The majority of our serotonin comes from carbohydrate-rich foods.
Oh.
So wait, you're saying too much carbs?
No, if you
overflow it.
No, if you don't have the proper balance that's digesting the carbs you're taking in, you're not getting the juice you need out of those carbs to produce serotonin.
And it's just coming out it's ending up in your poop?
What, the carbs?
Or no, this like
the food?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't break down enough.
It doesn't. We don't use it. We just evacuate it. In
Right.
fact, the rat studies they did when they kind of like cleaned out the rat gut of any bacteria, like a clean gut, they needed to take in 30% more calories to maintain weight than a rat that has a healthy bacteria in their gut.
Interesting.
Yeah, when over the last couple of months with H. pylori, I've had a really hard time keeping weight on. It's like I've been eating a lot and lifting, and I was just keeping skinny, and it was I think that had to do with the bacteria in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Now that I'm like on the mend, I feel my body kind of plumping up a little bit, holding the water, being able to hold the food better.
Yeah, the excessive pooping could be if you don't eat a lot of carbs, because this is the thing about the gut health and the bacteria in there, it's all environmental. So if you're not introducing food that's necessary for the bacteria, you won't have that bacteria. So when you start introducing carbs and things that you don't normally eat, that's why you might poop a lot, because your body's like, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah. Because the bacteria mainly does carbohydrates. It doesn't do anything with protein and fat. So when you're taking in carbs that you normally don't take in, you don't have the gut bacteria to help you deal with it. So it's out the poop chute.
Evacuated.
Evacuate the bowels.
Wow.
Well, it's interesting too that serotonin, in my research, in my pre-pod research, it's responsible for all of the autonomic nervous system movement. So it's responsible for stimulating the esophagus and the intestine to move the food through it.
Right.
It's responsible for like blood flow and vasodilation. It's multifaceted in what it does in our bodies.
I think it's a very primitive neurotransmitter. And
Yes.
that's why it lives in the gut, because the gut is basically the first part of life, which is take food in, shit it back out.
Turn it into energy.
Well, yeah,
Right.
and, like the serotonin wants to taste the food.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that this whole, the digestive system is all about taking an external energy source and converting it into energy in the body. I mean, isn't that interesting to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it.
It's fucking crazy. Like this, you take a piece of food, whatever it is, an apple, a piece of steak, whatever you might have, and there's like energy in that thing. That thing is a material manifestation of energy that's going to go into your body. Your body's going to break it down, and that's going to be what you use tomorrow to run, to lift, to laugh, to cry, to hug somebody, to do anything you're doing in life. That fucking mind.
It's like organic battery.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
Just full of energy.
Well, everything on Earth is made of the same stuff.
Exactly.
And we're just kind of transferring it around, moving it around.
Yeah.
And probably our poop also provides energy for something.
Yeah, dung beetles. And bacteria, really,
Yeah.
because that's what eats it up
Yeah.
and changes it into, and then we use it, put manure on our crops, and the cycle of life is complete. And we grow more food with our poop.
And so, how the fuck did we, when we were playing in the NFL, performing at this super high level and putting shit in our bodies on a daily basis, man? I mean, I think a lot of the stomach problems I have stemmed from that lifestyle where I was eating like crazy, trying to keep weight on, lifting like crazy, taking a ton of pills, and probably drinking, a decent amount, like from time to time. And
Alcohol, shitty food, lots of pills.
Yeah, during the season, while you're expending this crazy amount of energy and you're also really stressed, we're also having pizza and Popeyes Day on Friday. Thursday, we're having the fast food brought in. Saturday morning.
Donuts.
Saturday night, exactly.
Saturday night,
I think
chicken tenders.
I think there's a lot of former football players dealing with gastrointestinal issues. I know a couple college buddies of mine have been dealing with them. Polyps in there and
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Gastritis and all kinds of stuff.
Your body is doing a great job getting all the good stuff out of the shit you're eating.
Yeah.
And then it's all the bad stuff is just kind of lingering. And it just builds up and builds up. And you don't notice it until you're in your 30s, your 40s, 50s.
Right.
And then all the chickens come home to roost because all the parts of your body that have been helping you clean out all that stuff are just like, I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
I'm fucking tired of this.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
The chickens come home to poop.
Yeah.
Chickens come home to poop.
And
well, our bodies at that stage, we're just in utter turmoil.
Yeah.
And we don't realize it because we're just in survival mode.
Right.
I got to make another check. I got to stay healthy enough to play. I got to stay on the field. Whatever it is, I got to beat this guy.
Yeah.
I got to watch film. I got to please the coaches. I got to say the right things. I got to be ready for an interview. I got to be ready for Sundays. You're never thinking, how do I feel?
Right.
Man,
well,
I feel like shit.
No one ever asks you.
Yeah, exactly.
They just want to know if you can play.
My energy's super low. Well, pop an Adderall.
Well, that's
Take
the thing.
a 5-hour energy.
Well, we talk about like the beehive. You get pulled into that hive, and the energy of the hive stimulates you in ways that it wouldn't if you were on the same diet alone out in the world. Because of the crazy amounts of testosterone being produced in that environment, it keeps you fucking ready to fight at all times. And so you can eat really shitty and then go out and perform at a super high level.
Yeah.
And I think talking to Matt about his testosterone drop, it connected a lot of dots with me about guys who leave that hive and a lot of the health issues that are started because of that.
Share this insight.
Well, it's just a theory. I mean, that basically a sports team is like a beehive. It's like a single cell where all the parts of the cell have a job to do, and they're very busy all the time doing it. And because of that, the hive provides nourishment, it provides protection for them, disease resistance, and in the case of sports, especially combat sports, super high levels of testosterone just from what you're doing all day. Manly competitions, hitting each other, fighting. That is testosterone producing.
Yeah.
And so when we do all that stuff, and then if you pull a bee out of the hive, it fucking dies immediately. It dries up and it dies. Not only because it doesn't have a purpose, like an actual job to do, but the nourishment that it got from the hive is gone, and so it dies. And I think athletes have a similar kind of shriveling that happens when they leave that. And, there's no incentive to keep working out, really. Or you have maybe some bad eating habits, a little money in the bank, and you just want to drift away. And so your physical health deteriorates, and your mental health goes along with it, because we were just talking about, how
all of those environmental factors that were keeping you running.
Yeah.
A sense of purpose, the hormone overdrive with testosterone and adrenaline and cortisol just running on these fucking warrior molecules. They're all stripped away.
Yeah.
So now you're at your bare self, and it really matters now. What are you eating?
Right.
What are you doing to take care of yourself?
Right.
Do you have any self-care? Do you have a meditation? Where do you find your sense of purpose?
Yeah.
And how you fit in?
Yeah.
So all those are taken away from you, and man, guys are drying up.
Exactly.
Well, the bees, what's interesting about bees is they communicate almost entirely through pheromones.
Right.
And humans do too. We're just not aware of it.
There's a lot of that going on in locker rooms for sure.
And it's, you know, you could definitely look into that. Like if you put a dude who was, you know, maybe just worked on computers all day and never really played sports, and you put him in a room with a bunch of dudes who were like football players, like would his testosterone level go up?
And would everyone else's go down? That is something that's like, because what bees do is if one bee starts to fuck up, if it dies or it's not doing well, they remove it from the hive to keep the strength of the hive. If a bee dies, they cover up its honeycomb. They cover up its comb thing, and they keep moving.
Yeah.
They don't allow dead weight around. And sports teams are the exact same way. If you get hurt,
Interesting.
or you start to falter, they get your ass out of there. It's only the virile, fucking energetic, aggressive bees that are able to stay around. And
I think this is
genetic diversity actually also increases the disease resistance of a hive.
Yeah.
And in football, you got a lot of different guys from a lot of different locations, bringing a lot of different flora and fucking poop, essentially.
bacteria.
You know, and so when we all eat each other's poop, it strengthens the hive.
A lot of people don't know that's what goes on in the NFL locker rooms.
That's right.
There's a lot of poop eating. But let's kidnap some kind of weaselly little guy. And let's get some dudes to have him hang out with him, and we'll see what happens. See if his testosterone...
Test his test levels.
Well, I was thinking of like opening up a chain. We need money for this, but opening up a chain of gyms called Jungle Gyms.
I love that.
Where you do different stuff, like you fucking have pain chambers and fucking slap stations, and just like you fucking have professionals in there to throw you around a little bit.
Like a cross between CrossFit and Fight Club.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Weird
Nice.
oblong-shaped weights, weird obstacle courses, things that aren't so uniform. You know, you see people go to the gym, they're just in their little bubble, and they're just doing their lifts and their 10 reps of this, 10 reps. Yeah. Yeah. We should not be training to be able to do 10 reps of hamstring curls. We should be able to be training to be able to fucking fight off a bear or fucking swim
Lift
out.
a giant boulder.
Lift a boulder, swim out of a car that fucking plunges into a lake.
Hell yeah, dude.
Give fucking CPR to a cat, whatever the fuck it is. Stand on your feet all day. Spoon with your wife.
Yeah.
That's the type of shit we gotta, you know, be prepared for. Not like, I don't know. I feel like some of the aim of fitness people is very like it's not functional.
Superficial.
Yeah, it's superficial. It's
Yeah.
about training the muscles to look a certain way. And
then-
other than that, I mean, the functionality of it is secondary.
Right.
I totally agree, man. I've been adjusting my workouts to be more functional. You know, how, like, take an 80-pound dumbbell. I'm going to do some single arm dumbbell snatch
Nice.
and just and not worry about how many reps I'm doing, but worry about feeling the chain of motion through my body go from the ground all the way over to my head, and feeling that stability, you know, through my hand, down through my lat, into my ass, down my hamstrings, into the ground, through my feet into the ground.
Just a total body awareness of how it's moving.
Yeah, because it's like, man, fuck. First of all, we've done so much working out and training in our lives. How much fucking bench press can we do? Which
Yeah.
bench press is fun.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah, it's fun to throw that in there, no doubt. But, you know, how about like how far can you pick up, you know, 100 pounds and walk with it?
Right.
You know, and just walk and see if you could walk for a mile carrying 100 pounds without setting it down.
Right.
I'll do shit like that.
Yeah.
And it trains your body in this whole other way that is, you know, my back pain is way down. I've got way less pain in my joints and ankles and shit because I'm not just tearing down the muscles and those, you know, those axioms of motion. And I'm just training my body to be resilient to different stresses. I think it's key.
Yeah.
I think it's a key.
Special forces training, and this is one thing that fascinated me, is it's standard for these guys to carry between 50 and 100 pounds on their body all the time.
Yeah.
And they just have to do it like it's nothing.
And they're going like 10-mile, 15, 20-mile runs.
Right. And they just their workout is carrying that, and eventually you don't need to be a superhero to do that. It feels like I would need to be a superhero to carry 100 pounds around on me at all times.
You get used to it.
But
though.
exactly, you get used
Yeah.
to it because they're doing it all the time, and it's functional.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's about getting functional in your life.
Yeah, don't train to be better training. Train to be better in life.
Yeah.
Train to be a more...
That's eating.
Yeah.
Let's start eating to be better in life,
Right.
not just to fucking feel good all the time.
Well, there are also testosterone producing foods and things that we can eat, do naturally when we leave that hive to keep our testosterone levels high.
And testosterone decreasing foods.
Right.
Which is a lot of that shit.
Yeah.
All that shit that we were eating, those are all like testosterone killers. All the fried food, all the fucking, chicken tenders, the French fries, the pizzas. All that shit is testosterone killing foods.
Right.
Because it's got all those bad fats, those like fucking trans fats and bad carbs and all that stuff. That's super limiting to your hormonal levels.
But you guys had so much testosterone stimulating activity.
Right. We didn't notice,
You didn't
yeah.
notice.
Well, I think it's
Didn't
really,
notice.
I think that's a fascinating thing that you bring up, Nate, this idea of, external factors and how they can keep the engine running
Yeah.
beyond what's going into the machine.
Right. Well, when I
That's
think about
fucking
it,
interesting.
I never got sick when I was in the NFL. I never had the fucking flu. I never had a cold, really. Nothing
Yeah,
significant.
rarely.
I never missed a day.
Yeah.
I was always healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that was the disease resistant protection of the hive
Yeah,
that was being offered.
for sure.
Not just by the testosterone, but also the expectation, the cultural expectation, that I put on myself, the pressure.
Yeah.
But it builds, and
Yeah.
it builds you up. But then when you leave, where is that? And so I think there's a lot of athletes out there who are dealing with kind of low energy levels after they leave, and that means low libido in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't know if we talked about this on the air, but I know there are a lot of former football players dealing with low libido, and that's something that we got to figure out because, we got to get boners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big part
What's
of life.
What's
I
life
mean,
if you can't at least get a boner every once in a while?
Yeah, I mean,
from the male perspective.
right.
No, I mean that's a
Well,
super
there's
important
such thing
piece.
there's such thing as lady boners. You know what I mean?
I think you guys are lady boners.
Ow!
But some foods that are good for the testosterone are basically the healthy fat proteins: tunas, vitamin D, egg yolks, oysters, shellfish.
Vitamin D, egg yolk.
Beef.
Well, vitamin D is in egg yolks, and vitamin D is in a lot of these. I guess the good omega fatty foods.
Yeah,
So those are all things to keep in mind.
interesting.
I heard potatoes are
Yeah.
good for testosterone.
Really?
Yeah, like
Potatoes.
yeah, they're like a
white
good-
potatoes.
all kinds russet. Yeah, like
Okay.
potato, like other carbs like grains, not so much.
Yeah,
But potatoes are like a good carb for your
interesting.
boner.
I like doing, if I'm going to eat potatoes, I'm into this thing now. It's when you cook a potato and then you cool it down, it becomes resistant starch. So that means it works as like pure fiber. Helps with, clearing out the system.
Right.
It's a much more easily digested. I don't even know if they're like what happens to the carbohydrates, but potatoes specifically have this mechanism when they're cooked and then cooled down, they become resistant starch. And there's a ton of great research going on about how that helps clear out the digestive system, how it's great for fat loss, reducing gas and bloating in the body. So if I eat potatoes, that's what I'm doing. Maybe that's still helping the testosterone levels.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not sure, but a good friend of mine who's studied this a lot sent me this website that has a lot about it. And,
Nice.
And potatoes was one of those.
What's that website?
I don't know. Well, maybe we can
Pull it up.
See if I can pull it up, man.
Pull it up. Yeah, zinc
Yeah,
also-
zinc is huge.
is important for testosterone.
I mean,
testosterone.
I know this. Anytime I've eaten half a dozen oysters, that
yeah.
night it's like fucking, I'm rocked up, ready to roll.
Washington Monument over here.
Get your oysters, baby. It's because of the zinc. It's because of the high level of zinc in them.
So do you guys want to hear some other interesting gut health facts?
Yes.
Well, for a lot of, what I guess you'd say, neurological disorders like schizophrenia, autism, and Parkinson's,
Glucose.
testosterone, you have a imbalance in the healthy gut of all those fancy bacteria that you want in there. People with neurological disorders do not have that fancy balance, and that could be because of their brain messing up their stomach or their stomach messing up their brain. We don't really know.
Interesting.
Chicken or the egg.
Causation
The
or correlation.
gut-brain axis.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's really, it makes sense that it's all connected.
it would, because as we crawled out of the primordial soup, eating is the most important thing. So we all must be driven by food in some very basic form. So it's
Yeah.
got to be the most primitive aspect that controls our body, or controls our mind as well, and our actions.
Absolutely. Well, it's sort of, it's interesting how food has evolved from a mechanism of our survival, to eat. We need to eat to keep ourselves alive. And now that we live in a civilization where there's an abundant amount of food available, as much as you want to eat, whatever you want to eat is there at the touch of a button, even.
Yeah.
So what does eating
Postmates.
become? Eating
Yeah, 'cause
becomes
entertainment.
How do you? Yeah, entertainment. A way to self-medicate with food to help yourself feel better, to cover up pain, to fill yourself, to not think about whatever else is going on in your life. So it's interesting how that aspect of our life has really evolved since hunter-gatherer times, when this
Right.
was an essential part of being a human being. Was you had to go find your food. You had to spend a significant amount of time hunting it down, killing it, preparing it.
Yeah. And you had to provide too, because not
Exactly.
everybody was hunting.
Yeah.
You got your children, you got women who are nursing babies.
Yeah.
They're all helpless.
Yeah.
And they need the food provided. So it was more than even your own food. You needed to get food for other people.
And then thinking about how much time people were probably spending between meals.
Yeah.
Probably much longer periods of time without food
Yeah.
than with food.
Oh, we get like the slightest hunger. We got to eat.
Yeah,
But actually, hunger is good. It's good
It
to be
is.
hungry.
it is.
It's good to have your stomach be empty for a while.
And that's why, there's all of this great science coming out about fasting and all of the positive benefits of fasting. For one, it helps reset all those hormones. It helps clear out our digestive system, helps give that a whole reset. There's a whole brain aspect to it where we start producing this brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which helps create neurogenesis, which sparks new pathways to be formed, makes us happy, decreases anxiety and depression, which is really interesting. People think a lot of times, I think in our carbohydrate addicted world, people are like, oh my God, I gotta eat. I
Right.
gotta eat or else I'm gonna die. It's like, no, if you just stop eating for a little while, you're gonna actually help your body
Regulate.
itself.
Yeah, especially with those long periods of time, your body gets used to not having food shoveled in its face, and it's becomes a little more even. And I don't know if we talked about it on this show or if this was off some other time, but when you go into those fasting states, and your body starts to look for energy in the
Yeah.
parts of your body that are already there, supposedly, this is what one
Autophagy.
theory is,
Yes.
it goes after the damaged cells first.
Yes, that's autophagy.
So that's real. I thought that blew me away, because you're like, oh
Yes.
yeah, if you're just feeding your body all the time, even the bad stuff that's growing in your body gets plenty. The
Yeah.
weak stuff in your body gets energy
Yeah.
and what it needs, and it can keep going. It's like you're having a communist body as opposed to a capitalistic body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right on, Jed. Because if you're constantly filling your stomach, it doesn't have to start going and using what it has.
Yeah, and finding weak things that need to go.
Yeah. The damaged cells, the even the cancerous cells. I've heard that autophagy and fasting and then the subsequent autophagy are very anti-cancerous because it's going in there and it's fucking chewing up all the toxins, the free radicals, the damaged cells, the cancerous cells, and using those as fuel before it goes to anything else.
Yeah.
And you can see how food becomes classist because the only individuals who have access to the kind of clean food that we're talking about are people who have money to go to fucking Farmer's Market and Whole Foods and Erewhon and Rainbow Acres and shit. Meanwhile,
and time, too. Time is a part of the money aspect, too.
Right.
And
being able to
education.
research it all.
Yeah.
Exactly. And all the poor people out there, they got fucking McDonald's and Taco Bell's around every corner, and that's the cheapest food there is out there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's...
And so they have to eat that. And then the homeless people, too, what the fuck are they eating? They're not eating vegetables, or fruit. So their conditions, their mental instability are being exacerbated by the, exacerbated by their limited food options.
Yeah.
And the gulf widens.
Yeah. And especially, those, food stamps only will pay for the shittiest food in the store.
Yeah.
All the processed shit, all the fucking GMO stuff. None of the organic food is available via food stamps.
No.
Can't get any of that high nutrition, good food. So that's even exacerbated by that. I think food is a huge component of our lives, and it's something that we are miseducated on from the time we're kids. The FDA's fucking food pyramid.
Oh, my God.
It's insane. They want you eating bread and wheat and fucking pasta 10 servings a day.
Sponsored by Nabisco.
Whole wheat pasta was the best food you could possibly get. And when I went to health class, I was 6th grade. And the health teacher is like, the best thing to eat is whole wheat pasta.
Right.
And she's like, I can get you guys some if you want. Because you couldn't find it anywhere. But yeah.
I got to get me some whole wheat pasta, man.
It's like, ugh.
Well, we're so misinformed. And, the 3 square meals thing, that's another piece of it.
Right.
I mean, 3 square meals, whoever came up with that, it's insane.
Well, you watch on TV, you see all the commercials for all the medications out there. You see what the way we eat is doing to people.
Yeah.
Fucking Lyrica, Jardiance, Humira, Trintellix,
Abilify,
Viberzi, Abilify. It goes on and on and on.
In this book I'm reading, The Body Keeps the Score. Abilify.
Book club!
Well, not yet. I haven't gone deep enough. But Abilify was like a $1.5 billion drug last year. Or what does
Abilify do?
Abilify is an antidepressant, anti-anxiety. It's an antipsychotic med. Americans spent $1.5 billion on Abilify.
It's all because probably they're eating like shit.
Yeah. Well, you're eating like shit. Your whole gut, your flora in your body is all fucked up, sending all kinds of crazy shit to your brain, making you incapable of functioning at any sort of, real level, any sort of clarity, any sort of calmness, anti-anxiety feelings. You're totally incapable of that.
Do you think our bodies are like when we're filling them with junk? They're screaming for help, but we're misinterpreting the screams.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
because it tastes good.
Right. There's a satisfaction, but somewhere the body is saying stop.
Almost immediately.
Yeah.
After it fucking goes down your throat.
Well, something I'm really into right now is that our bodies are just antennas to the world, whatever that might be. Sensations, sounds, the food that's going into it. Our bodies feel certain ways when we eat. It's just about whether or not we can pay attention and listen to what it has to say. Mm-hmm. Literally everything in our lives it's all about the information that we're receiving. and then how we respond to it. But these physical bodies that we have are our consciousness, our spirit, the self, whatever it is. It's our physical antenna into the world. And food is just another component of that. When we put food into our bodies, how does it make us feel? You know, pay attention. The next time you eat, whatever it is you eat, what does that thing make you feel like? And don't assume that, you know, that feeling you have is just out of nowhere.
Because you had a bad day.
Right.
Right.
I mean, we're very fluid beings, right? I mean, our you can start the day feeling like shit and end on a really high note. You know, you can have all sorts of peaks and valleys throughout the day of your mood, your energy levels, all that stuff. And so paying attention when something happens, when you eat something, when whatever it is, how does that make you feel? What sort of stimuli do you receive?
And food itself is not enough. You need to move your body.
Yeah.
You can't just eat right and then sit hunched over in front of a computer and then feel good.
Yeah.
We are supposed to be in motion.
Yeah.
And so that going outside, activating your peripheral vision, looking at things in the third dimension, grabbing things with your hand, you know?
Yeah.
If you get your body moving, you'll get your bowels moving.
Nice. Yeah. Sunshine, very important for vitamin D.
That's right.
Yeah.
Vitamin D is very important.
For hormone production.
Also, vitamin B is also important
Nice.
for serotonin. Right before we wrap up, one important thing we haven't really talked about is the immune system and your gut health.
Ooh.
Because that is something
That's key.
having a healthy balance of bacteria in your gut is very important for your general health. One of the main reasons is when you have a healthy amount of bacteria that's good, it takes resources away from the bad bacteria in your gut.
In your butt.
You've been really switching words around today, man.
That's right, man.
It's called wordplay.
It's that alpha brain, man. It's got me
Yeah.
all flipping around, doing flips, doing brain flips.
Alpha brain, beta butt.
Alpha brain, beta butt.
But with asthma, it's something they find as well. They find a bad balance of bacteria in people who have asthma in their gut butt.
You know, I've heard a lot about this, actually. I mean, I know we're coming to the end of this pod here, but things as simple as introducing the right bacteria into certain circumstances can have a positive effect on things like autism, on things like ear infections,
Right.
on everything. It's all bacteria.
Yes, and we need it.
We need it. We need the good
We
bacteria.
need the good. Got to get the bad out of there. Got to get the bad hombres out of our
The bad hombres.
Some of them I assume are good people. Or
Good
good
bacteria.
But a lot of bad ones.
There's a lot of bad ones.
That's really good, man.
Wow.
Well, yeah, so it is really important, and you see it in, like I said, asthma, and that happens for kids who don't go outside and experience the world. You know, that the immunodeficiency is coming from people who don't go out and get introduced to bacteria and have it not only build up resistance to bad bacteria, but also collect the good bacteria. Because your gut health, your gut balance of bacteria comes in like at 2 years old is when you start developing a real one. Because before that, you're really, you're counting on mom and all that stuff. But, and you're not really eating solid foods, so it doesn't really matter as much.
How long did you say it takes before
It starts about 1 or 2 years old.
you start forming your
yeah.
own
Mhm.
environment?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it can kind of linger too, so you have to. It's a constant maintenance,
Right.
Right.
And if you need to fix it, you got to fix it, throughout your whole life and keep it balanced.
Really interesting.
So
Talking shit.
talking shit, probiotic. Get some probiotics.
Yeah.
I've heard that cultured coconut milk kefir is one of the best.
Yeah, I've heard that amazing
Because
things.
people who are sensitive to dairy might not like the dairy kefir.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Kefir is a fermented drink.
Well, there's a lot of, I don't know, bad things going on with cow's milk.
Right. You have a lot of hormones
Get a
and
lot of hormones.
antibiotics
Mhm.
also used,
Mm.
which is something that I came across in the research is that eating the meats that's grown with a lot of antibiotics can also fuck with that gut too, because
Yeah.
antibiotics
Absolutely.
are getting in there and
I've got to say
Messing.
one thing on that because it's been interesting to me. I follow this dude on Instagram. His name's Sean Baker, and he is an advocate, he's kind of for the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is pure meat, red meat, beef, pork, eggs, bacon. This is all you eat.
right.
There's nothing else. And it's been interesting. I listened to him on the Joe Rogan podcast probably maybe almost a year ago. And I've started following him on social media just because I'm interested in that. I'm interested in like different ends of the spectrum. You know, you've got vegans who are shouting from the rooftops, if you're not a vegan, you're a fucking idiot.
Right.
And then you've got now a guy on the other end of the spectrum eating purely meat, saying the exact same things that the vegan's saying. You're healthier, better immune system function, all the autoimmune diseases go away, all that shit. And it's been really interesting to me following him on social media. He's gotten fucking angrier. Seriously. And he doesn't pay attention to, he's just like, just eat meat. Eat meat like it's your job. And he's eating like, fucking USDA beef that's probably injected with loads of antibiotics and
Right.
hormones and all kinds of shit going on. And it's like, dude, the guy literally gets angrier every post. He's more aggressive. He's more volatile. He's more antagonistic. And it's like really interesting to me
Wow.
because I think that, something occurred to me. I just read this book. Been doing a lot of reading this year, guys. It's nice. It feels really good. Filling the brain with this good knowledge, but by this yogi called Inner Engineering. And something he talks about that really struck me that I've heard before, but it hasn't necessarily hit me in a way that made sense enough for me to adjust my lifestyle. But, he talks about how cows specifically are super sensitive creatures. They know exactly what's going on. Have a very high emotional intelligence. Like when these guys are being led to the slaughterhouse, they know what's happening. They're starting to fill themselves with fear hormones and fucking adrenaline and cortisol and all of the shit that, is associated with a really horrible experience.
Yeah.
Death.
Fight
Yeah.
or flight, basically.
Fight or flight. They're
Yeah.
just in fight or flight mode as they're being led to their death. And so all of those hormones are fucking just
Tainting the meat.
juicing that meat up.
We're just eating cow fear.
You're just eating fear, seriously.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it makes sense, doesn't it? Doesn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, it just makes sense.
Well, that's why the Temple Grandin lady invented that a slightly more humane way to slaughter the cow so they wouldn't be so stressed out.
right.
But I would have to agree with you in saying they probably know because they could probably smell
And
the death.
They
yeah.
should do
that.
fucking snipers, man. Just
It might have worked for like the first two cows, where they're like, oh, what's this new blood? Ah! But
Yeah.
then from then on, the cows would figure it out. They'd
Yeah.
understand. So it's just interesting to me, man, thinking about what we're eating, how it's affecting us. When you start talking about eating animals, hey, man, I'm a big fan of eating meat. I like it. I enjoy a steak here and there. But, my habits have really changed since incorporating or integrating this understanding of what's going on, in the process.
Yeah, I think I would call BS on the carnivore diet. Just because
Yeah.
just because we come from great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, they eat a lot of vegetables. They
Yeah.
also eat meat.
Yeah.
And the reason I'd call the BS is just because, we evolved. We probably became smarter, had bigger brains because we started incorporating higher fat into our diets. And that probably came from animals, but not as the, baseline as the, what do you call it? The bottom of the food pyramid.
Yeah.
It's not meat.
Can't be meat.
Yes. And the people in Japan on Okinawa, they have
Yeah.
a crazy longevity
Yeah.
in their
It's
lifespans.
a blue zone. Yeah.
And basically they said, they have a vegetable-based diet. And vegetable-based with enough protein to keep you growing, because that's part of America is people are big here, like tall and
Right.
wide.
Right.
Because we have so much good protein. And that
Yeah.
when you introduce other races into our system, their average height starts to come up as well. So it's like, yeah, meat is good. All meat, not so good.
Yeah.
There's a balance for
I
sure.
don't, and apparently I didn't see this, but I heard on another podcast talking about it that he had posted his blood test results, and apparently his testosterone was way low.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
On the test levels, that his blood work wasn't really coming back showing that, this
Right.
was necessarily a great way to be.
Which
I think you
which
gotta-
begs the question, why the fuck would he post that?
Well, he's an extremist, man.
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
if you have all that meat, why would your body tell you like, hey, you need to be stronger and tougher?
Yeah.
It's like, why would your body like fill you with testosterone to go out and hunt if you have constantly always all the meat
Yeah.
you need?
Yeah. No,
Right.
it's
Yeah, it's the lack that makes
Right.
you want to go do it.
It's the balance of like artificially inducing need into your life that actually probably keeps you healthy and balanced.
yeah.
And the same goes for orgasm.
Right.
The Kundalini stuff, you want to withhold it. You don't want to be ejaculating every day. And if you
Exactly.
do, your testosterone levels are going to drop because your testicles are not going to.
Have any time to rebound.
Exactly. So
Well,
you
I
got to
mean,
let it
that's-
build.
That's a great. That's
You got to
a
let
whole
it build.
other- yeah.
Yeah.
That your Kundalini energy, your sexual and your creative energy are both in the same mechanism. It can either come out in an orgasm, or it can come out the brain.
Right.
It could come
Yeah.
out in
Top
a
of the
piece of
head.
writing. It could come out,
Yeah.
in a speech, whatever it is.
Right.
Hold back. Withhold things from yourself.
Right.
And instead of just pleasuring yourself to death.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
which we definitely do plenty of
Yeah.
in modern America.
Oh yeah. So
Please me.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh.
It's been a pleasure talking shit with you guys today.
yeah, we didn't even talk about fecal transplants, which we'll have to hit on another podcast.
Save-
Talking
Another pod.
shit. Yeah, there was a lot of shit talked. Went into some other area.
Everybody did a really good job on the pod. Said everybody did a really good job on the pod. Said everybody did a really good job on the pod.
Really good job.
Everybody did a really good job on the pod. Hey,
Everybody.
Yo.
you did a really good job on the pod.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
you're welcome,
you.
man. You're welcome.
Nathan
Yeah.
did a really good job on the pod.
Gerard.
Thank you. Did
Really
a
good job on
the pod. Did a really good job.
And Gandalf
Candy.
did a really good job on the pod.
On the pod, on the pod, on the pod.
Everybody did a really good job.
Thanks for listening, everyone. That was another beautiful experience to share with you guys. Really excited to have this platform. Remember to check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, wherever you find your podcasts. You can subscribe, give us a like, a review, a rating. Send us an email, mindfulwarriorpodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on social media, Instagram @mindfulwarriorpodcast, Facebook @mindfulwarriorpodcast, Twitter @mindfulpod. Head to our website, mindfulwarriorpodcast.com. Check out our organization, Athletes for Care, at athletesforcare.org. see what we've got going on. If you want to get involved, there's a way to do that. We really love you guys. We're so appreciative that you keep listening. Turn your friends on to it. Keep meditating, keep exercising, keep eating right, thinking about this life that we live. Until next time, peace.